Behind the Shades.
You were Yeve before you became a mother, and now you're Yeve as a mother. Is there some differences that you have noticed within yourself as you navigate, as you maybe reflect on both journeys?
No, absolutely. My daughter is 4, and I can tell you that since having her, I have definitely become more outspoken. And what I mean by that is because I have to advocate for her, I in turn am finding myself advocating for myself as well, in a way that I didn't do before I was a mom. And that is a welcome change for sure, because I think we all need to be equipped and empowered to speak our truth. And when you're a parent, when you're a mom, you recognize that your child only has you to speak up for them, whether it's at the doctor's asking, for them to investigate something, or whether it's at school or whatever the case may be. And so that's definitely a huge change that I've noticed. Another one, which my um, non-parent friends can attest to, is unfortunately now I'm flaky. I cancel a lot, and that's because being a mom is unpredictable. And it's like if my kid is sick, that grounds me. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything, right? And so my life is very much dictated by how my child is doing. If my child is well, then we're out and about, and if she's not, we're not. And so my friends who don't have kids have had to kind of adjust to that. And so, I say that jokingly, but really, I think the difference is that, now you are thinking about not just yourself, but there's another little human that you're thinking about, and that impacts the places you go and when you go to them, the things you're involved in, the things that you care about, the things you spend money on, the things you watch, listen to, because there's a little one who is literally watching your every move. And my husband can attest that my daughter is like a little mini me. If I say something, she's going to repeat it. And so that is a really heavy kind of burden sometimes, to be like, wow, I have to be on my A game. And sometimes I'm not, and that's okay too, because she needs to know that perfection doesn't exist. And her mom is a flawed human, and that's okay. So definitely have learned a lot since becoming a mom. Yeah.
And for all the parents out there, her child is 4, but she probably has about another 21 years of her taking care of her child. So sometimes she won't be able to hang out on girls' night or couples' night or things like that. She still has to make sure that her child is taken care of. And I love that the perspective that you put into that, because when children are born, I don't have any children, but I've been around people who have children, especially when they're very young. And I've coached men and women who have kids. And you're absolutely right when we say that, or when you say, sorry, that you are their first source of protection. You're the first line of defense. You need to advocate on their behalf, either actually saying something like the doctor's appointments and things like that. Also, the things that you don't say, that they pick up on, the energy, the vibes, right?
Mm.
That plays a part in how we advocate for them as well. And I think um sometimes that may get lost. They're 18 years old, get out of my house. It's my time now. No, not necessarily. Your kids will always be your
Mm-hmm.
kids.
Mm-hmm.
And when you highlighted imposter syndrome, let's speak about that, because I know there's sometimes that it can be, people, I guess, look at it as more so in the job, but imposter syndrome can impact you in so many different areas of life. So let's speak to that.
Yeah. So I can talk about it because I think, we will get into the corporate setting, but I can definitely talk about it outside of the job. Let's stick to parenting, and then I'll pivot and talk about something else, another sphere. So in parenting, because there is no manual, like you literally are walking around trying to figure it out as you go. And I think imposter syndrome can creep in because you might look at other people and say, wow, that person has more kids than me, or, they are always put together, even though they have kids, or, they seem to just be living the life. They've got so much money, they've got the job, their kids are thriving. Like, there's a lot of room for you to feel insecure as a parent. And I think it is very easy. In fact, you probably suffer from imposter syndrome more as a parent than when you're not, at least for me, right? Like, you don't know whether you're doing a good job or not. You actually don't know. And you only get that validation from other people. And that includes your own kids, that includes family members, teachers, et cetera, right? But otherwise, you actually don't have a measure. At least I don't. And it's not until my child does something. So, we are a Christian household, and we've been teaching her to pray since she was a baby. And the only way that I know that she is getting those lessons is when she prays. And I'm like, wow, you're doing so well. Like, you actually get what it means, and you pray, and you're thankful and all of that. Right. So that's what I mean when I say you don't know whether you're doing a good job until someone else validates that for you. I also think that society, and especially like media, will have you out here thinking that in order to be a good parent, you have to be doing the most. You have to be getting your kids the latest things, the latest toys. You have to be feeding them extra healthy food at all times. They need to be reading by the age of 1. They need to be doing all of these things, right? And that's just false. And I think with more experience and from talking to other people and talking to other parents, you realize, first of all, nobody has this thing figured out. We're all scrambling and figuring out as we go and fumbling, really. And 2, your kid just needs you as you are. You are their parent, and that is for a reason. And you're not perfect, and that's okay. And you're not going to have all these things perfectly lined up, and that's okay too. And your child is still going to be fine. If you look at your own journey, with your parents, it's like, my parents were not perfect, but I turned out okay. You know what I mean? So that'll be the same thing for our kids. And yes, they will need therapy, because we all do. And it's not a reflection on you doing a bad job as a parent. And so I think there's a lot of imposter syndrome because of society, and just because parenting is hard. I will tell you another area of life where I have faced heavy imposter syndrome, and that is in my journey as an author. So I'm a published author. I wrote a children's book. I never went to school for this. I never studied it. I, am maybe the last person who should have written the book, but I did. And I did a language book. So as I mentioned, I'm originally from Zimbabwe. I did a language book on 2 of the primary languages in Zimbabwe, one of which I don't speak. I don't speak the other language that I wrote a book in. I'm learning it because my husband speaks it, and because we're teaching our daughter. But that right there was a big moment of, am I equipped to write this book? I don't even speak the other language. How can I write a book about it and teach people this language, right? How can I even write a book, period? Who am I to write a book? What qualifies me to write a book? And those thoughts definitely entered my mind. And sometimes they still do when people are like, "Whoa, you wrote a book." I'm like, yeah, I did. I kind of shy away a little bit, because I'm like, don't ask me anything, too crazy, because I didn't go to school for this, right? And so again, it's really the insecurities of not feeling adequate enough, right? And I think that's the root of imposter syndrome, right? You think that you are not meant to be wherever you are. You don't have the qualifications, or you're not qualified enough. And so, listen, I battle and deal with imposter syndrome in all spheres of life. And I think we all do, right? And that's why I think I'm very, very well equipped to talk about it with you and the audience today.